Hey everyone, it's Sarah, and today we're going to be making some fresh pesto. We're going to utilize this in a chicken dish that we're going to make a little later on, but we have to make the pesto first. I wanted to let you know I really appreciate your support and how many people commented on my first video, which was ratatouille. It's always kind of been a dream of mine to do some cooking videos because I enjoy cooking so much, so thank you for that, and I'll get better at it. The video that I posted before, I totally forgot to actually post the written version of the recipe in it. So if you will look in the bottom corner of your video, right down in the bottom right hand corner, right underneath the video, there will be a little arrow down button that if you press that will be a drop down screen that is the description of this video, and it will contain all the details you need for how to make the recipes yourself. All right, so let's get going. I have everything ready to roll. It's a super quick recipe. I have, as I mentioned before, tons of basil in my garden. And what I've done here is I have just snipped the basil off of the stems, washed it, put it through my little lettuce dryer so that it doesn't have a lot of moisture in it, and it's ready to go. I also have my other ingredients ready, which are nuts. You can use a variety of nuts, just like you could use a variety of greens. Traditionally, pesto is made with basil, but you could also make it with spinach. You could do a combination of spinach and basil. I've seen other recipes, I've never made it myself, with kale. So you could be very versatile in the greens so that you slightly change the flavor. The nuts are the same thing. You could add cashews. The traditional recipe calls for pine nuts. Pine nuts are super expensive, so I did half pine nuts and half walnuts in mine, and I actually like that because the pine nuts add a smooth, buttery flavor, and then the walnuts have a little more of a flavor intensity to them, but they also have a little more texture to them too. So you get a little versatility in that particular nut. You could also add cashews, or you could do just all walnuts if you wanted. I have 4 cloves of garlic that I have taken the skins off of and have those ready to put into my food processor, and 1 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, and I have a cup of oil. So it's really, really simple. We're going to open up my really old food processor. I don't even know how old this thing is, but it still works, so I feel no need to replace it. And I'm going to pack my spinach, not my spinach, but my basil in here. And I have, like, I don't know, this is probably 4 cups of basil. I'll give you the exact in the details of the recipe. Oh, well, I always make mistakes. So here, let's take a little bit of it out, and I'll tell you why. Because you could leave it all in, but it'll make a super smooth basil. If you like your basil to have a little more texture to it, then I would take maybe half or a little less than half out and start with that basil, and then add this one in at the end so that it doesn't get emulsified as much as it will chopped up so fine. We're going to add the garlic in. We'll also add, well, let's just give it a little spin here. Also, just a little bit, get kind of that garlic broken up. We want that to be broken up really, really well. All right, now I'm going to add my nuts in, and I have them mixed together here, my walnuts and my pine nuts. I could pull that thing off, but I am never good, and I always end up dumping it out on the floor, so we're going to pull the whole lid off. Pine nuts, I'm going to put the cheese in. This is so simple. I mean, anybody can make this dish, and if you like pesto, it's just a great way to make something fresh. You can buy pesto in the store. We're going to add about a teaspoon of salt. Now remember, your cheese has salt in it already. It's salty already, so if you have, if you're trying to not eat as much sodium, you might want to not add additional salt as you're making it, and then just salt it at the table. So from here, let's chop this up. It's best to use the pulser so you don't get it like too broken up and fine before you add the olive oil in. So I'm just going to turn this on and slowly add my olive oil in. You can see it starts getting looser and looser. All right, from there I'm going to add in my other basil so that I get just a little more basil in there, but that it is not smushed up as much, chopped up as much. Smush is a technical term. All right, so you'll notice here, if you can see this very well, when you start doing your basil, you may find that you need additional oil, and that's perfectly fine. You have to make the pesto to the consistency that you want. So if you're looking for a little thicker pesto that maybe you're going to stuff chicken with, then I would by all means leave it slightly thicker. But I want mine just a little bit more fluid because I'm going to use mine over my chicken. So I want it to kind of roll off the chicken. So I'm going to see if I can get this thing to work here. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to now add a little bit more oil in from my oil container. I'm going to put in another half a cup. That's about perfect. All right, perfect. Perfect consistency. I have another little bowl here. I'm going to pour it out so you can take a look at it. And I think you're going to, it's a beautiful bright green color. Now the great thing about pesto is, well, number one, it makes a ton. And number two, you can freeze pesto. So the best way that I have found to freeze it, although I've seen a couple of other ways on the internet, is to put it into ice cube trays. So I'm just going to pour this pesto out here and let you take a look at it. If you have a whole lot, pesto will keep about a week in the refrigerator. It oxidizes, so it'll start to turn kind of a darker color of green. After about a week, it might start tasting a little off, so you might not want to use it. When you store it in the refrigerator, if you put it in a bowl and then put just like a little layer of oil on top of it, and then lay a piece of saran wrap right on top of it, just like when you make guacamole and you put the saran wrap down on the top to keep the oxidation from turning the avocados in guacamole dark. It works the same with basil. It will keep it from turning dark. But look how pretty this is. I'll turn it to the side without dumping it out, hopefully, that you can see it. Made it yourself. It's gonna be great on this chicken. And then we're gonna make a side dish to go with it, so you'll have a complete meal. All you'd have to do is add a little salad. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're ready to start the chicken portion of our dish. And I have already prepared 2 of the chicken breasts, but I am going to show you kind of what I do. It's just, you can make them just like this. They're kind of thick. As you know, when you buy chicken breast, depending upon where you get it, sometimes they're thicker than others, but it cooks unevenly. So I'm trying to make the chicken a little more all the same thickness all the way across, and I'm just going to butterfly the chicken breast a little bit. And as I said before, I am not a chef, so I might not be doing this exactly right, but it always works for me. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take kind of like a superficial cut down into the chicken, maybe halfway down into the chicken. All right, so then I'm going to turn my knife at an angle and cut kind of across the chicken towards the side, towards the edge. And then what that allows you to do is just open that chicken up. I'm going to go up here to the top where I don't have it all the way done yet. And it allows you to open the chicken up. Now you could pound the chicken, so I just make little superficial cut as I'm trying to open that up to kind of flatten it out a little bit, it'll cook a little more evenly, and it won't take as long to cook either if it's not so thick in the middle. So I'm not a professional by any means, but right there, nice. Yep. As you can see, now it's much thinner. And I'm going to place this over here to the side. I have my pan heating with oil in it, and I also have my oven heating because we're gonna put this into the oven to finish. All we're gonna do in the pan is brown it a bit. So let's get our egg wash ready. So I am a big believer in always seasoning all the components, okay? So you build a depth of flavor if you season everything as opposed to just seasoning one thing. So I'm gonna put some garlic powder in my egg wash. I'm also gonna put, this is my secret weapon here, is just 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And I do that, it won't make it hot, and you certainly could leave it out. It's going to add just enough heat that it makes you think, what is that? And then it's gonna make you want to eat more. So there you go. So I've got my egg wash. I'm gonna mix up my cayenne and my garlic in here, get it nice and mixed up. And I'm gonna season this a little bit with salt and a little bit of pepper, and I use, honestly, just what I would consider to be just a pinch, okay? All right, so I'm gonna move that chicken here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm not sure, not looking at my chin. Go. So we got this all mixed up. Over here, I have panko breadcrumbs, and I just purchased these at the grocery store, but I added to them some Parmesan, getting ready to add to them some Parmesan cheese right here. So I'm gonna add Parmesan cheese to my panko, and I use my hands a lot when I cook, so I'm just gonna like mix that on up there. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna dredge into the egg wash, and then over into the panko, and then we're gonna put it over here, and we'll stick it over in the pan and brown all of that before we put it in the oven. So from here, I'll be right back. All right, let's do this. So we take the chicken, we place it in the egg wash, flip it over, make sure it gets covered really, really well. I always try to keep one hand away from this, otherwise you end up with this like big gooey hand of panko. So spread that chicken out so that it gets egg wash all over in all of its little areas, and then we're gonna take it right over into the panko that has the breadcrumbs in it. Just gonna flip it over. Make sure it gets coated on the edges. So I use my fork to do that, to pull some around. Then I'm gonna pick it up, kind of shake it off in there, and place it right here on the plate. Nice and spread out until we do one more. And then when I get the other one ready, then I'm gonna put this one over into the skillet that I've moved off the heat so I don't burn my house down. So, one more chicken breast. All right. So this is a great dish. I mean, it's a great dish for any time. You can get basil at the fresh basil at the grocery store all winter long. You can buy pre-made pesto that is, it's good. I don't ever get pre-made pesto, or I never have gotten pre-made pesto. I'm sure it's out there that's as good as what you make fresh, but you certainly could make this dish without making the pesto yourself. But it's just like this time of year, I was trying to utilize some recipes that use things from our garden, and I certainly have like a ton of herbs. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna move this pan back onto the heat because it got a little warm. And then I'm gonna take one of the chicken breasts and I'm gonna place it down into the oil so that it can just brown. And this is not a very long process. You gotta keep track of it too, because that cheese and that panko will cook pretty quickly. So there, see, it's already starting to sizzle a bit, so we're gonna keep our eye on it because I am famous for burning. If I don't I use my Alexa to always use as a timer in my kitchen. I have a little Alexa dot, and I actually tell Alexa all the time, do this, do that, time this, time that. And it works really, really well for me because especially if I put something in the oven, I totally forget about it. So another one, here we are, chicken. I hear that one sizzling a bit over there. I'm gonna move this one over into the plate. We'll get this one all ready to go in the panko. And then I'm gonna get these browned, get ready to put in the oven, and we'll be back. So as you see, cooking away in the saute pan with a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. I wanted to show you, you don't want to let it like get too brown because it'll continue browning a little bit in the oven. So probably right there, look how pretty those look. That is where we're going to let those get to. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to put them over into the cookie sheet and slide them into a 350-degree oven for probably 30 minutes. I'll put them in there. I'll check the temperature of them at 20 minutes. They may be ready, they may be not. And then if they are, I'll pull them on out. And then I'll show you exactly what they look like when they're done. And so I'm back, and here they are, all nice and brown. Let's take a look at them. I'm going to slide these into the oven at a temperature of 350 degrees. I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes. Now I checked the internal temperature of the thicker of these, and it was at about 124 degrees. So I know that it's going to take a few minutes for them to complete. So into the oven they go. Now I'm going to put them in the middle, right in the middle part of the oven, and I'm going to tell Alexa, set a timer for 20 minutes, please.
20 minutes, starting now.
I always say please because I feel like it's rude not to. So anyway, when they come out of the oven, I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do with the side dish that This is a side dish that you could make to use with any chicken dish. You could use it with a salad as a vegetarian dinner. So today we're making it to combine with our pesto chicken. And I'm super excited. You probably recognize some of the ingredients here. They are the squash, the eggplant, and the onion that I had left over from our ratatouille that we made earlier. So I'm going to use this, but first I'm going to begin by placing, I have a pot of 2 cups of chicken broth boiling over here, and I'm going to place 1 cup of quinoa in it. I'm going to place it in here, and then I'm going to stir, and I'm going to reduce that to a simmer. And I'm going to let that simmer for 15 minutes. There we go. See me from a distance, I hope. And then, get the right eye on. All right, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna add the onion in first, and then we're gonna add the other vegetables, and I'm gonna just saute these in. I have about a tablespoon and a half of olive oil. And these are all kind of evenly diced into a, kind of just like a chunky dice. You can make it as big as you want it or as small as you want it. You don't have to use the vegetables that I have. I'm just using what I had left over from my chicken dish. And I'm probably gonna throw a pepper in here too, just because I like a little bit of the flavor of the pepper along with the onion. I have a little bit more eggplant than I had of other things, but you use what you like. You might use totally different vegetables than me, and that would be fine too, because it's all kind of gonna just blend together. We're gonna add it to the quinoa when the quinoa is done. So, got the quinoa cooking, have it on simmer. I'm going to saute the vegetables, and then I'll be right back with you. As you can see, we're starting to get some caramelization on the vegetables, and I'm simmering the quinoa. Alexa, how much time's left on the timer?
We have 6 minutes left.
Alexa says we have 6 minutes left for the quinoa to be done. So we're going to combine the quinoa with the vegetables, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to taste great. It smells awesome in here. And then I'm going to show you how to put this all together for a great dinner. See you in a bit. So, as you can see, everything is out and ready to assemble. The chicken is beautifully crisped, looking golden brown. Super excited about that. And then I fluffed up the quinoa with my fork, and I added it to my vegetables, and I've added some finely diced up basil. So kind of following through with all of the flavors that are in the rest of the chicken dish. I'm going to take a portion of the quinoa and place it on a plate. And you know what? I am one of those firm believers that you eat with your eyes first. So I really like to make the plate really pretty just for my husband and I. So when I make dinner in the evening for us, which I do most nights, especially during this time of COVID, we haven't eaten outside very much, or out of the house very much. Just a few restaurants have we gone to lately. So normally we would be out and about on the weekends, but we stayed home more. So then I'm going to take one of these chicken breasts, and if I were making this portion for myself, I would probably only use half the chicken breast. So that's what I'm going to do. For my husband, I would give him the whole chicken breast. So I'm just going to slice it right down the center there, set this portion off to the side, and all I'm going to do is just slice this, just kind of like on a little bit of an angle. It's really tender. I may have snagged a piece of it off camera. It was really good. So from there, I'm going to just slide that onto my knife, pick the whole thing up, and place it right on top of my quinoa. I'm going to smush it down just a little bit so that the quinoa kind of comes out around it, and then I have my basil ready to go. And all I'm going to do, and this is just all this stuff is personal preference. So I'm going to put the basil on top of my chicken. And if you like a lot of basil or a lot of pesto, be sure use what you like. I'm just going to put what I think right there would work for me, and I'm going to kind of just let it roll over the sides. Perfect. All right. So there's my plate. I'm going to combine this with a salad for our dinner. I'm going to make a salad of baby romaine, arugula with a lemon and oil vinaigrette. Super simple. You have all your vegetables here, a grain, protein, and it's beautiful. Take a look. I wish you could smell it. It smells great. So I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if you cooked it. And don't forget that the recipe for both of these will be in the drop down right underneath the video, and it'll give you all the details that you need to know. Thank you for watching, and until next time, we'll see what else we're going to cook. Bye-bye.